And just as to, or I would say some days to the population census to kick off, we saw a breaking news yesterday that has been suspended indefinitely, now handing it over to the incoming administration. And that's going to be our first talk on as regards the national issues trending right now. And to join me, take a look at all of this tonight, I have the YPP gubernatorial candidate, Mr. Joseph Pokobasi. Is it Joseph Pokobasi? So good to have you join us. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Joseph. Is it Joseph business
yes,
again?
It is. It is, yeah.
Good to have you here too.
Thank you. The last time we hosted you was a build up to your elections.
Yeah.
And I must say congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
You so much.
You represented the young people pretty well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's quickly go to it. I laid an emphasis there about the census suspension. The first date was March 27th. And the federal government came up with, okay, it was going to be a distraction from the elections.
Yeah.
They said to May 3rd. And just about 3 days to this, we are seeing its suspension. What's your thought on this, Pokobasi?
Well, I want to say for the suspension of the census, I think it's the right one. Yeah, because whatever you need to do, I think you need to do it well. Census was supposed to be done at a couple of 10 years, I think, so that's the strategic number of years we should be able to have census in Nigeria. But for the last how many years have we been able to have a standard database in Nigeria? So it's invariably, it shows how bad Nigeria is as a country. We don't even plan for our citizens. So if the federal government of Nigeria today wakes up and say we've suspended census till the incoming government will come in, I think it would allow the incoming government sit back, take a closer look and analysis of what would come. Because if they hurriedly go into it, I would have seen that there would have been a political undertone to it. And moreover too, the huge amount of money we are hearing that they want to spend on just census, counting people. I think it is very outrageous, and I think it's one of the best things that I would say that the government of Nigeria have decided to postpone the census exercise.
Yeah, now, prior to the suspension, indefinite suspension, we saw NPC, a national chairman, consistently saying they were prepared. They were prepared. I remember on Thursday when he addressed diplomatic corps, however, he raised some challenges that they are yet to get some of those devices. But is it that we saw people that were not ready for this? Were not ready at all, because at some point they started training ad hoc staff and suspended that. It's as if the whole census stuff is being shredded in ill-timed or lack of preparedness.
Well, I want to say for the chairman of the Population Commission saying that he was prepared. I don't know in terms of what and how he was prepared. If you say you have some devices you want to employ in the exercise and you don't have them handy, how prepared are you? And you can't train the ad hoc staff without the devices. It's like saying Anya wants to go and do training and they say they have beavers to use for the exercise of elections, and you say you are ready without having the sample of beavers you need to use in training people. I think it is outrageous. I think Nigeria is a country that we need to reorganize Nigeria. Yeah, because if the man that is heading an organization like that is trying to force Nigeria into it with the huge amount of money that had been earmarked for it, and he's telling us he's ready, he says he needs a server, he needs to have a server, maybe sometimes he might not even end up working again. And we don't have those stuff, and you are saying you're ready. I think he was trying to play Nigeria into allowing him use the money and walk away with whatever he can walk away with. So I would want to say congratulations to the federal government of Nigeria for just deciding to keep that in abeyance for the next government which coming in to be able to take care of it.
So, quick one, do you think the incoming president would even love to, because the bill already it's way pretty outrageous, $1.2 billion to, like you said, to count people.
I think for the incoming government, I think it is not the money that should be able to deter them from going into the census exercise. What should deter them is, and what should encourage them is the fiscal planning of Nigeria. So they should be able to see how they could be able to take a closer look or the proposal that was made for the population census, and then be able to see if this is what they should do, cut it down or make it visible, and then go into it. Because if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And truly, Nigeria today, if somebody says how many Nigerians do we have, we'd always say approximately. Till today, Nigerians cannot tell us how many Nigerians that are there in Nigeria. So I think we need a strategic or a more reliable figure to be able to plan in Nigeria. So I think it takes nothing. When we talk about census, I strongly think that census is an exercise of wasting our resources. In my own take, it is an exercise of wasting our resources. If we would try as much as possible to see how we can be able to have what is ordinarily done in other countries of the world, where you could have statistics of who dies, who is born, and then you could know who is coming into Nigeria at a particular time, then we're done with census. We should be able to tell ourselves, with this, we should be able to not make mistakes beyond 10, 15 persons difference. We should be able to know how many Nigerians or how many people are presently in Nigeria.
Great. Okay, so while we wait for the incoming government to maybe make mention of census again, let's go over to another story that is really affecting us. About 2 weeks ago in Sudan, a war broke out between two generals, and Nigerians residing there are being caught in the web. Joseph, let's look at Nigerians. They are being evacuated as we speak this afternoon. Just about a handful of them were being evacuated from Sudan to Egypt before their movements down to Nigeria. Just 600 plus, you know. Let's look at this. Where I want to go is having over 2,000 Nigerian students studying in Sudan. It's not a cry for us.
Well, I think the first thing first is, why are Nigerians going to Sudan to study? That's the first thing we should be able to look at. Because our educational system is deployed. We can't fix it. This leads us to so many things that have happened to Nigerians in other countries of the world. Now, for the issue of Sudan, let's look at the evacuation first. I think Nigerians, the government of Nigeria is not, and I'll say it anywhere, anytime, is not proactive towards the life of Nigerian citizens. We play politics with everything. Strongly, I think so. I heard that the federal government had budgeted 1.2 million US dollars to hire buses just to move Nigerians from Sudan to Egypt. And I would wonder how many Nigerians are they buying new buses, or how are they doing it? So I strongly think that we play politics with everything, want to make do with whatever we find and to make money. But I think proactiveness is the major thing. That the life of one Nigerian is worth so much for every one of us. So we shouldn't have waited till this time. Nigeria is in Africa. And look at where Sudan is not too far from Nigeria. So why did Nigeria take so long to even work on evacuating Nigerians from Sudan to Egypt? So I think it is too late for Nigeria to have even done this. And look at the number they've taken out. So if what happens to the rest of Nigerians, when I saw a video that was so dehumanizing, that I could see how people were treated in Sudan. So how would Nigerian government feel to find Nigerians going through such, and they are comfortable sitting back at home and they are governing Nigeria? I think it's a very wrong thing.
Well, let's look at the issue that would first make a Nigerian, whether a student or not, want to leave Nigeria to Sudan. I mean, of all places, Sudan, Kumasi, what places? So
well, my brother, it's really laughable. I think when I was young, I'm not just trying to look down on any country. I used to see some men hang some bags and walk around the streets of Calabar then, and they say they are Sudanese begging. Today, Nigerians who had the economy, who had the education, who had everything, had lost all, that Nigerians could go to Sudan to make a living and also school. So it's a shame, a very big shame, that Nigerians could even say that we have up to 2,000 Nigerians in Sudan. And we ask them, what are they doing there? They say they are studying. Even if it's Islamic religion, they are studying in Sudan. They should have it better in Nigeria. It should be a more modified and better way of learning in Nigeria. So I think Nigeria deteriorated to an extent where Sudan should be comparing with us. If we put ourselves in the developing economies, Sudan should be ahead of Nigeria in the developing economies in the world. So it's very bad.
Very, very bad. Okay, so we just have to move away from that and take the last issue. I think we'll dwell a bit on this. In the month of June, we will be seeing the inauguration or the proclamation of the 10th National Assembly. Let's look at the principal officers. A lot of them have started scheming seriously who is going to get what, who is going to be what sometime in June. Let's get your thought, because a lot of zones are already projecting their own. Some of the senator-elects have come out to say they want to be the Senate president. Let's look at this. One of them is Ojizo Kalu from the East, and we also have one of the oldest serving senator, South-East and South-South. South-South here we have Godswill Akpabio, and quite a number of them angling to, become the third citizen in Nigeria.
Well, on the issue of the Senate, first and foremost, I would want to say that I have a problem. The first problem I have is not just having a Senate president, but having a Senate president in what sort of electioneering system. Today Nigerians are so much crying about the electioneering system that brought the senators, the president, and every other person. How much have we looked at it? Is it that when once we're done with elections, we'll start running for offices and we'll start looking at what we grab? But if I want to keep that, because that wasn't the subject matter, then we need to talk about the issues of offices that are supposed to go to which or who. Now I want to look at it from the Senate of Nigeria. I heard that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or President-elect, in close connotations, that he is the one to choose which zone or who should be made a senator. Are we talking about a president who is going to be the Senate president in these guys? Or the senators should be able to choose for themselves who they think is fit and best to represent them? This is where I have a problem with Nigeria. How do we think we need to move from it? The responsibility of the legislative arm of government is to check the executive. And now you are telling the executive to give us a Senate president who is going to be in his pocket. So how would you think the man that will be given to you by the executive would be able to check the executive? It's like the appointment of the Chief Justice of the Federation. It's a problem where we have till today, but we're still having it till tomorrow. It's like the same thing that is happening to the man who is the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. It is the same problem we'll still have till tomorrow. Because the man that is coming to sit as the Senate president, if he sits as the Senate president, I came through somebody. His allegiance should be to that person. If he does not, then I should see him as a very bad person, because you can't get power from somebody and turn against the person. So invariably, you're going to be the piper who pays the piper, who dictate the tune. Now, on the zones now, when we're looking at it, I think we're going to have, the 14th Senate president in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. Right from 1960, yeah. Right from then, how many presidents have been Senate president from the South-South? I'm not just going to look at who is coming from the South-South first. I'm looking at how many presidents have been Senate president from the South-South. Now we have the president from the Southwest. We have the vice president from the Northwest. Yeah. Then we're looking at it from that perspective. What is coming from down to the South-South? Now the present Senate president is from the Northeast. Now, what is the responsibility of the South-South? When did we have a Senate president last? That is late Joseph Wyatt, yeah, who was in 1980 to 83, I think so, or 78, or 79 to 83. And that's all we've had. It had been east. So if it is coming to the south, the southeast should allow it come to the south. The states that the zone that produced the highest number of Senate presidents should be the southeast in Nigeria, in close succession. Although it was this after this, even within the same term, they changed themselves like 4 or 5. But I think if we want to be very realistic, it should come to the south. If we need to have a Senate president, the North doesn't even need to ask for anything, as it is. Because if the North says the president comes from the South, let's look at Nigeria cut into two, that the president comes from the South and the Senate president cannot come from the South. Ask us today, where is the president from and where is the Senate president from? Exactly. So we shouldn't be playing these sentimental politics to this extent. I should only think that everybody should be able to have a right in the constitution called Nigeria.
Great. Now, in 2015, we saw APC, they were trying to play the politics of bringing Ahmed Lawan. Before we saw Dr. Bukola Saraki, taking with the likes of the opposition, members to emerge as the Senate president. this is what APC is trying to guard against in June. Are we going to see a repeat of this?
Well, I think if I'm given an opportunity, I should say a repeat of it should come again and again. And it shouldn't just come, it should be sustained. You know, when I look at you having a majority government, you have the government at the center and you still want the government at the center to bring the Senate president, where is the check and balance? If you need an opposition to sit, you should be able to have a check. Nigerians should be able to expect from everywhere. If you have an opposition, now like today, the opposition put together should outnumber the APC members in the Senate. So I actually think that the opposition should be able to come up and produce the Senate president. That's what I think. So the Nigeria should have a balanced government. What most of us are crying for is not just anything. We're just crying that we should be able to have a reasonable government that everybody should be able to see Nigeria as its own. Not because I am an APC man and the APC had won the presidency, then I should have an APC Senate president. No, it shouldn't be so. I strongly think that we should be able to look at very reliable persons, Nigerians, that have gone to the Senate. And then we should say, let's choose whoever we think is the best. Outside the Senate rules, being able to know the Senate rules and whatever you need to do on the ground. I think a first-time senator could be a Senate president. It is not a written thing in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria when we find credibility in such a person. So I strongly think that we should be able to have the kind of maneuvering that happened in 2015, where Bukola Saraki came, although he was still from the same subset. And came. I think it happened in Cross River State in the year 1991. I can quite remember, I think so. Yeah, 1991, when the Honorable Rock Duke, caused all Nigerian People's Party, APP, to have the Speaker of House of Assembly, and he became a Deputy Speaker from the party at the center. So I strongly think that gave us a good measure that we can have a good check. So that's what I'm expecting in Nigeria.
Okay, so because of time, this is where we just have to hang it back. We'd love to get your thoughts. Where do you think the pendulum will swing as regards which zone will produce the next Senate president?
Well, I think Nigeria had been so politicized in the lines of religion and ethnicity and the rest. And the South is being seen as one of the smallest of all. I pray, if you give me an opportunity to say my thoughts, I pray it comes to the South. But I am believing that the North, who had dwelled and had lived on this history of religious sentiments and their zone, I'm sure they would be able to take it, and not minding how the rest of the zones will feel about it. But I pray the North to see reasons and give it to the South, which I think would give us a balance in government. That's my own opinion.
Thank you so very much. Joseph Kokobasi, YPP Guba candidate in the 18th March 2023 Guba elections here in Cross River State. I must thank you very much for finding time to be here with us. I will still be bringing you back to give us your expert opinions on some political issues.
Thank you so much, Joe.
All right. So this is where we will be anchoring Weekend Politics tonight. By the time we come back next time, it will be in the month of May. Let me be the first to say happy new month in advance. Enjoy your evening, enjoy a new week ahead of you. My name is Joseph Ian.